The force of friendship. Now this is the force of friendship. Because girlfriends really do matter. R. Kelly.
Yeah.
R. Kelly.
Yep.
Right all up in our stuff. R. Kelly. We need to have a conversation about R. Kelly because he's affecting everything in every place. Katrina, you started talking about it. What do you think about this whole situation? What are we going to do about this situation?
Absolutely. We've talked about it before.
Yeah.
We've heard the stories, but since the show has come out and the hashtag Mute R. Kelly has been even more just prevalent on social media, it really is a big deal. And in light of all of us having girlfriends as well as family members as well as young girls in our life, it makes a big, big difference. So Sabrina, we want to bring you in this conversation for sure about the situation with the women that have survived R. Kelly.
Well, yeah, I don't know what aspect of the conversation we want to talk about. For me, it's so very sad. It's disturbing. And quite honestly, I don't know how he's out walking around.
Right.
It's just a travesty. I don't know, you guys. Travesty and a tragedy. Wait a minute, is travesty a word? I'm not making that up.
Yes, it's a word. That's why we have a conversation. Right.
So honestly, I don't even, somebody asked me if I watched the series. It turned my stomach, just the thought of it all and hearing everybody else talk about it. I just couldn't bring myself to watch the series. So maybe somebody else wants to talk about who perhaps caught the series. But I don't know what to say about that other than it's a shame.
Kiera, one of the things Kiera brought up was the fact that he has created such amazing music that we've all been motivated by, that we've enjoyed. It brings back tremendous memories. It gives us thoughts, motivation, and then we have these children, and so it's pretty. It's thick. In our community, it's even thicker to know him and to know who he's touched and to see his talent and then to see it robbed for so many bad reasons.
Yeah. Well, I watched it. I watched it several times.
Yeah. Did you?
Oh yeah. And it's just incredible. And I agree with Sabrina. I don't know how he has not. I don't know how he's walking around like he's not in prison.
And it's still taking place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think about my stepdaughter who's 14, and I just have the image of her in my mind with all of these young girls that are telling their story, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, and we're right in the thick of the Me Too movement, and it's sad, it's heartbreaking, it's criminal, it's disgusting, all of those emotions. I went through all of those emotions, because you have to think about, the thing that came out was that R. Kelly was molested by a family member, him and his brother, his baby brother. Right. They were molested by a family. And so he talked about, he was, matter of fact, Tavis Smiley was the one that interviewed him, and he talked about how he was, he was exposed to sex at such a young age, and once you open Pandora's once you open Pandora's box, he said from 7 to the age of 14 or something like that, from the age of 7 to 14. And
so by who?
No, it was a family member. That's all that his brother said. It was a family member. So, what do you do with that? You know what I'm saying? And but then you have to.
But we have to be careful.
But it gets back to as we were talking earlier about things that happen in life that is kept secret and nobody talks about. And you think because you don't talk about it that you'll be okay because you don't talk about it. And we see now that because of him being molested at an early age, that it did carry over into his behavior as an adult. And the other sad thing, as I watched part of the series, is that so many other individuals knew. It's not something that was kept in a box that was secret. It's like, sometimes people can do things that you don't know about. When you find out, you are appalled and you're like, hey, I can't agree with you. But there were so many people on board with him that helped him perpetrate these crimes. And the sad thing is, they're saying that a lot of times, even the big studios, the record industry didn't care because they were black girls. But had it been,
Right.
some other girls other than black, something probably would have been done a lot earlier.
Right. Wow.
Well, the other part of that is too is that somebody may mention to the fact that there was no father in the household, no male figure in the household, and what usually happens is they start looking for love in all the wrong places, and they start thinking, well, this is an opportunity for me to do something, to be successful. And so, who cares how I get it? And I think about my dad. He didn't know how to be the father that he needed to be to us because his father was not the father that he needed to be to, And so for me, I felt like I was looking for love in all the wrong places. And I think that that's what happens when you were blessed to have your father in the house. You were blessed and you were blessed, but that's not my story. And so there are so many other stories that are not, like each other's stories. And so I just think that a lot of these girls, that's probably the case, and nobody cares. And so they look for it as a way out, being in the ghetto and their way out. And, when you see your mother who's used drugs and your father who used drugs, and there is just no way out, and this is here a way out for me, and if I got to lay down to get it, then it's okay, which is not okay, and so that's where these healthy conversation and these healthy women like us can make a difference.
And let me just add this, the thing that we have to realize, and I'm sure statistics will show that most people, young kids that are molested are not molested by strangers. They're molested by somebody they know, somebody in the family. So this is a true story. When my children were younger, we were very careful about who we would let them spend the night. Charles and I would travel and stuff. And so we had a friend of ours that was at the church, and she would babysit them. And Kiera, I can count on one hand how many people they could literally spend the night over if we were out of town. And the young lady at our church, she was so good with our kids, and she had 3 children of her own, and she was a single parent, and 2 of those children were boys, and then she had a daughter. And so, as Kiera got older, I made sure, because I would see different shows, Oprah show and different shows, and they would periodically talk about having the conversation. And so I would take Kiera aside, and I'll be honest, I probably did it with Kiera and not with Buddy, in hindsight. But I remember having a conversation with Kiera, and I said, Kiera, when you're over so-and-so's house, and you're taking a bath, I said, did anybody come and touch you on your private parts? Are they, in the bathroom when you're in there? And she was looking at me strange, like, what's wrong with you? And that was the reaction I was looking for. And I said to her, well, Kiera, let me just say this. I said, not that I didn't trust the person that we had, but I knew that there were 2, younger boys there, and they experiment. I said, so let me just say this. If they touch you there, and if they say, well, don't tell your mom, because, if you tell your mom, we're going to kill your mom, or they say you're going to get in trouble, I said, you come right away and tell me. So I made sure I had the conversation. And then I was always, watching to see that if we were going out of town, we say, you want to stay over so-and-so's house? She was like, oh, Mom, can we please go? And that made me feel good that they wanted to go because nothing was transpiring. But how many people just rely on they're a good person? Because she was a good person, but sometimes they could leave the room and their kids do something, and the parent may not necessarily even know that went down. So I think the onus is on the parents to make sure that they are having that conversation with their children.
So let's talk about, because Nora, you were talking about the single parent. When you watch this show, there are a lot of the girls had their father and their mother, but it was them wanting the fame. What were they willing to do for money? Seeing this as an opportunity, I think had he not been famous, they would never have let their daughter be there. And just that whole conversation, it's just you have to use that. Yes, it's not. It's not. And even from the perspective of the church, you hear more about his story and him being molested, and feeling sorry for him, that is, forgiveness is totally different from being stupid, okay? And not using wisdom in how you operate. And I totally agree, his music needs to be muted, and we need to continue the conversation.
I think he needs to go away.
Yes,
Right. Okay.
absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
he needs to go away. The community needs to make sure he goes away. We get this big TV series. We get all this detail, and he's still walking around. The problem with that is that he's walking around. Other people are walking around. People with power walking around. People without power walking around. People with money are walking around. People with no money walking around. To me, he is a symbol of a lot of people walking around. The conversation has to continue.
Right.
Because girlfriends matter.
Absolutely.